Happening right now.
I mean, we looked across the road here and there, and everything's gone.
A tornado tragedy in Smithfield. Tonight we get our first look at the people who were killed when a twister ripped through this tiny Madison County town. We'll take you there live as neighbors remember the victims, including a 4-month-old baby girl. The state of emergency, tree limbs and power lines down, the massive mess left behind. Tonight, the East Syracuse community still picking up the pieces from major damage caused by that storm. To the east in Verona, an ominous looking sky as the storm rolled through. Did a tornado touch down there too? Wayne will break down the latest from the National Weather Service as crews scatter across central New York to assess the damage.
From CNY Central, this is NBC3 News at 5.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to NBC3 News at 5. I'm Megan Coleman. Matt is off tonight. All across central New York, communities are dealing with the aftermath of last night's storm. Earlier today, we learned the storm was, in fact, an EF2 tornado that ripped through Madison County, killing 4 people. Today, we sent our Alex Rusilla along with the National Weather Service meteorologist to get more insight into last night's storm. We'll have details from him coming up in New at 6 tonight. But one of the places hardest hit by the storm was the town of Smithfield. It's in Madison County, about 43 minutes east of Syracuse, and that's where one community was devastated. Tonight we're getting our first look at the victims killed last night. 35-year-old Kimberly Hilliard and her 4-month-old daughter Paris Newman were killed when the storm destroyed their home while they were inside. 70-year-old Virginia Warner was also killed, along with 53-year-old Arnie Allen, whose home was lifted off the ground. Earlier today, Governor Cuomo was in town touring the devastation, saying, quote, houses we can replace, buildings we can replace. When you lose a 4-month-old baby, when you lose a family, there's no damage like that. We also spoke with Kimberly Hilliard's uncle, who is devastated by what happened.
Just seems like it's not happening. It's just unbelievable. This is the family farm that my whole family grew up on, and we've never had anything like this happen. Maybe a limb or two, but nothing of this magnitude.
Still no word tonight on any funeral arrangements for the victims. On the ground and in the air, the governor spent part of the day flying over Smithfield to assess the damage. You can get a good sense here of the overall damage there. You can also see how some managed to escape the storm's destruction. On one side of the street, some homes were destroyed. On the other side, they look to be untouched. We begin our live team coverage tonight in Smithfield, the site of so much heartbreak today. Alex.
Well, Megan, you can see right behind me, crews still going through the rubble, the Red Cross still on hand here. Governor Cuomo toured the damaged area from the air today and also met with neighbors on the ground, saying the homes can be rebuilt, but the lives that were lost, they can never be replaced. This morning, firefighters and other volunteers helped sift through the rubble of 4 buildings destroyed by a tornado Tuesday night. After seeing the devastation left behind, Governor Cuomo said the storm's power was unstoppable.
I haven't seen it in New York. We haven't seen a house just gone, literally like a bomb exploded within the house. Neighboring homes with 2x4s shot into the side of the home.
The Madison County Sheriff said one home on Goff Road was picked up by the tornado and carried 150 to 200 yards through the air, where it landed on another empty house.
This home is located here. It was picked up the foundation, as I said, and landed over here.
The sheriff said the victims had lived around a family farm, and he knew some of them personally. It is a tragedy no community can prepare for. And while the governor said buildings can be rebuilt, the tornado's path, a swath of destruction that left some homes untouched and others destroyed, changed life permanently for the families that live here.
Unfortunately, there is damage that has been done that no one can repair and no one can replace. Tragic loss of life in a wholly random event.
And the tornado's power, just incredible. One porch here on Goff Road was ripped off. The sheriff says it was found 300 yards away. This is a small community. Many of the neighbors say they are coming together, doing their best to comfort the families of those who lost loved ones. For now, reporting from Smithfield, I'm Alex Dunbar.
Well, as Alex mentioned, tonight the Smithfield community is simply heartbroken by the tornado that claimed those 4 lives as it ripped through their tiny town. Neighbors were out today assessing the damage, picking up the pieces from the destruction left behind. And they're coming to grips with the loss of 4 people, including a 4-month-old baby girl.
Real nice people. You know, I mean, this fellow over here, I mean, yeah. I just got to know him, really. You know, it's heartbreaking.
As that man looks across the street from his house, everything is gone. He says when the winds picked up, pieces of homes were flying all over the place. Right now, there is a GoFundMe website page set up, a fundraiser set up to help the family of those killed. They have already raised more than $10,000, surpassing their goal. So now they have set a new goal, hoping to raise $25,000 for the family. For more information on how you can help, we have a link to this website posted right now at cnycentral.com. Let's go over to Wayne now with a look at some of the damage that has left behind in the wake of this horrible storm, Wayne.
Well, Megan, the National Weather Service, as we know now, has been out during the day today. Several survey teams to inspect the areas, not just Smithfield. Terrible, terrible tragedy there. But we had other areas, too, that were hit hard, including the city of Syracuse, Lowville, Deerfield, a whole bunch of places. A real quick summary of what we're looking at. This is the storm right here that tracked from Skaneateles, that powerful rotating thunderstorm. Skaneateles went right through downtown Syracuse, heading on over Verona Beach, eventually right through the city of Rome, and eventually eastbound into central parts of Herkimer County. That was not a tornado. National Weather Service said straight line or microburst winds with that, a wind gust of around 75 miles an hour, which is what blew over all the trees and blew down the power lines in the immediate central New York, Syracuse area. And then we had a line of storms, a bow echo, that worked from the Tug Hill into central and southern parts of Lowville, the northern extent of that, which may have been a tornado on the northern portion of that line in Lowville. And then the one that we've heard so much about too, it was not a powerful one storm, but it was a bow echo, a line of very strong thunderstorms that moved eastward from parts of Cortland County, and the northern end of that bow echo moving right over Smithfield, where it did produce a tornado in Smithfield. As we just mentioned, National Weather Service saying an EF2 tornado, which is winds of 111 to 135 miles an hour. The fourth one that we talked about, possible tornado in Deerfield, which is north of Utica, which may or may not have actually been the tornado, the rotating storm rather, that worked up from Syracuse through Rome and into that area here. So we're not sure about that one there. But either way, certainly a heavy-duty weather day yesterday. Real quick, what's going on as far as tonight is concerned, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Otsego County, and that goes until 5:15. But I'll be back in a few minutes. We'll talk a lot more about that and what lies ahead heading on into the weekend coming up in a few minutes.
Wayne, thanks. Another area hit hard by last night's storms was East Syracuse. The area tonight is under a state of emergency due to all the downed trees and power lines, making it dangerous for drivers. Many roads were blocked off due to the massive mess left behind. We continue our live team coverage of the storm's aftermath tonight with Jim Kenyon live from East Syracuse with more on the damage there. Jim.
Well, good evening, Megan. And I checked with the village of East Syracuse this afternoon and was told at that time that the state of emergency remains in effect. We haven't heard otherwise, so you've got to assume that this emergency is still in effect. Now, as you can see behind me here, this village took a direct hit from this storm, and it'll be quite a while before things return to normal. Now, parts of this community look like a war zone. A number of streets are impassable due to trees crashing down on power lines. Utility crews and private contractors have been working throughout the day to restore power. In fact, National Grid tells me that some 300 crews throughout its entire service territory have been called into service. As of 4 o'clock, Power has been restored to some 800 customers here in the village of East Syracuse, but a lot more power, a lot more homes are still in the dark. So that'll take some time to bring them online. We have no definitive word on when power is going to be completely restored. As hard as this village was hit by yesterday's storm, county legislator and former East Syracuse Mayor Danny Liedtke is thankful that no one was seriously injured.
From what I've heard, no injuries, and that is absolutely remarkable. I think everybody heeded those warnings. I think modern technology got people in their basements, and I think that really was the story of the day.
A delegation from the governor's office has been assessing the damage here to see if this village would qualify for a disaster declaration and the aid that would go along with it. Now, new at 6, I'm going to show you a lot more of the damage. This is just a little bit of it here. And you're going to hear some of the stories from people who have weathered this storm. And you're also going to see some amazing footage of how a crew was able to take a tree that was up against a home, resting up against a home, and snap it back into an upright position. It's pretty impressive footage. Reporting live from the village of East Syracuse, I'm Jim Kenyon.
Remarkable to see the damage behind you, Jim. Thanks. Bad news tonight if you were thinking about going for a swim at Jamesville Beach. Why it's been shut down by the health department for now. And continuing coverage of the massive storms that tore through central New York. New at 5:30 tonight, we take you to Minetto and the loss of a local landmark. Still to come on NBC3 News at 5 tonight, an empty convent on Syracuse's north side could soon become a safe haven for illegal immigrants. The story is next.
Well, certainly a busy, if not devastating weather day across parts of the area yesterday. Of course, the tornado in Smithfield, we've talked all about that. We're going to continue to talk about that for a while. EF2 tornado with 4 fatalities there, and some other storms that went through, like the strong rotating storm, the microburst that went through downtown Syracuse, went through Rome. We had more activity up to the north, other activity out towards Rome and Deerfield. So let's talk all about that briefly again right after we show you this. The Stanley Law Sky Watch overlooking Route 81 in the city from the Stanley Law camera. Traffic moving along, only a couple of sprinkles here and there. Okay, then put together this little bit of a map for you. Again, we'll just briefly look this over. And what we're looking at are really 4 distinct areas. First of all, we started out everything yesterday afternoon with this storm, a strong rotating storm coming in through southern Cuyahoga County, over Skaneateles, right up over the city of Syracuse into Vernon, Verona, right up through Rome and headed eastbound. No tornado there, okay, as far as we could see anywhere, at least in the immediate Onondaga County area, but the National Weather Service termed that a microburst. All the trees and power lines down here in the Syracuse area, 75-mile-an-hour winds. Then we looked at the strong area of Bow Echo that came in off of Lake Ontario and actually worked on through the Tug Hill into central and southern parts of Lewis County. This was a Bow Echo, a line of very strong, powerful thunderstorms and gusty winds, and it appears like the northern end of that Bow Echo went over and did produce a tornado, unofficially so far anyway, in Lowville. Then we're looking at, of course, the one that we've heard so much about, the real tragedy. This Bow Echo, not one cell, but a line of strong thunderstorms that moved from southern parts of Onondaga County down into Cortland County and headed eastbound. Well, this line, the northern extent of that line, from what we can tell, actually did drop a tornado down into Smithfield, causing all the damage to the homes and the 4 fatalities there in Smithfield, the northern edge of this Bow Echo there as it continued on to the east and northeast. And then finally, we had reports of a tornado in Deerfield, just north of Utica. That one is a little suspect, not whether there was a tornado, but instead of maybe another new storm or individual storm that might have actually been the rotating storm that went all the way up from Skaneateles to Syracuse, Verona to Rome, and this way, because it did end up somewhere in here, and Deerfield is just south of that track. So it might or might not have been the same storm, but either way, certainly a tough day yesterday. Okay, as far as what's going on right now, live triple Doppler radar, a few showers locally, and actually just getting out of a severe thunderstorm warning in Otsego County and Chenango County. Some big thunderstorms here, the remnants of what went by yesterday, and severe thunderstorm watch right now down in the Catskills and on into southeastern New York. Okay, real quick, zoom on in. You can see some big thunderstorms now right along the Route 88 corridor down there. What do we have coming up? Well, we're going to try to calm things down over the next few days. Drier, less humid weather for the next 2 to 3 days, and then a bit more heat, bit more humidity coming up here with a few more storms over the weekend. So no real major weather system in sight, at least for the next few days. Hour by hour tonight, any scattered showers will gradually end. Skies becoming partly cloudy and a low temperature later on tonight. Less muggy, better sleeping weather. Low late tonight at 55 degrees. 7-day weather outlook looks like this. For tomorrow, partly sunny skies and a slight chance of a leftover shower. High tomorrow, 76. Mostly sunny skies to partly sunny on Friday at 81 degrees. Maybe a late day storm on Saturday, a little more humidity at 85. Showers and storms likely on Sunday with a high at 85. That's the latest from the weather outside.
Wait, thanks. Take a look at these pictures from Verona in Oneida County, taken right around this time yesterday. The National Weather Service has received pictures like this as well, indicating there may have been a tornado. Take a look at the gray mass behind that house. Ominous looking clouds there in Verona last night. We'll have more on this possible tornado new tonight at 5:30. Right now, thousands remain without power tonight. We checked in just a few minutes ago, and National Grid is reporting more than 5,000 customers in Onondaga County are in the dark right now. About 3,000 are without power in Oswego County, and in Oneida County, well, about 3,600 are still in the dark. There is no estimate yet when power will be fully restored. An alert tonight for anyone looking to cool off at Jamesville Beach. The Onondaga County Health Department just announced Jamesville Beach will be closed for swimming due to high levels of bacteria. Officials say swimming will not be allowed until the bacteria levels return to acceptable levels. No word yet when the beach might reopen. More cases of rabies in central New York. The Oneida County Health Department says 2 people got bit over the 4th of July weekend by a rabid barn cat in Marcy that was reportedly acting aggressive. They are now undergoing treatment. And in Onondaga County, a skunk tests positive for rabies. It was found on Lords Hill Road near Route 20 in the town of Onondaga. No one was hurt by the animal, but this is the 7th rabies case in Onondaga County this year alone. New at 5:30 tonight, we invite some perspective from a local person with the health department. She will be live here in our studio to share some perspective, what you need to know if you ever encounter a rabid animal. Well, right now, word that the now empty Nuns Convent complex on Syracuse's north side is being checked out as a possible home for some of the illegal immigrant children that have been in the national news over the past couple of weeks. A team from the federal government was here on Monday.
We allowed them to come in, take a look, answered whatever questions we could for them, and now we're back in a sit back and wait mode and see what happens.
The complex has a large industrial kitchen, a gym, and dormitory-style rooms, as well as security. If they get an actual offer, the Nuns will decide whether to accept it. Dealing with immigration on a national scale, President Obama is in Texas at the epicenter of the immigration crisis. He says he wants more than $3 billion for emergency spending to deal with a wave of immigrants coming in from Central America. We'll have more on that story for you new tonight at 5:30. Looking ahead, Trader Joe's sets its opening date for its new store off Erie Boulevard in DeWitt. You can see work is already underway. It's been going on for several months now in the Barnes & Noble Plaza. This is right next to Raymore and Flanagan. And now we've learned Trader Joe's will open Friday, October 3rd at 8 o'clock in the morning. The unique grocer always draws big crowds when it opens, oftentimes requiring traffic police to coordinate the crush of customers. Well, do you know how much time your kids are spending watching television or are on their computers? Coming up, we'll tell you how much time kids are spending in front of a screen, and the answer may surprise you. Still to come tonight at 5:30, how the town of Minetto is dealing with the loss of a familiar landmark. You're watching NBC3 News at 5. Welcome back to NBC3 News at 5. Here's your health checkup tonight. Do you know how much time your kids spend in front of a television or any electronic device? More than a quarter of kids between the ages of 12 and 15 spent 2 hours or less watching TV or spent time on their computer. About 98% of kids view some kind of TV every day, and most also use a computer outside the classroom on a daily basis. Well, take a look at your belly and be honest. Is there a big bulge? Well, large amounts of belly fat could put you at risk for chronic pulmonary disease, or COPD. Researchers looked at more than 100,000 older adults for 10 years who didn't have COPD at the start of the study. They found those with a large waist circumference were more than 70% more likely to develop the disease. Researchers say this measure of obesity was more important than a person's total body weight. Many of us may eventually lose our ability to read without glasses. LASIK and other treatments can't help with the complex problems of reading vision. Tonight, Dr. Bruce Hensel reports on a new FDA study that could help patients see again without glasses.
This woman cannot be identified by name because she's the first person in the U.S. in an FDA study on a breakthrough procedure to get her reading vision back. Like every single one of us, she started having trouble reading as she got older.
When I would be in a store or anything, I couldn't read the tag, I couldn't just pick up a book.
Her only choice, glasses, until she met Dr. Kerry Aseel, who was leading the study on a new, tiny, unique lens.
The lens works by having a clear center portion, so the light goes through unimpeded, and therefore the distance vision remains good, and the surround has power that enables us to see up close.
Because of both the nature and the size of the lens, 1/5 the size of a human hair, Dr. Aseel does the procedure in 2 steps. Watch the first step as Aseel operates on another patient.
First, we use a laser as we do in LASIK. Instead of creating a flap in the cornea, it'll create a tunnel in the cornea.
In the second step, done with the help of a powerful microscope, Aseel carefully inserts the lens into that tunnel.
At times it was a little bit painful, but it was a very short surgery. It was 10 minutes, maybe at the most.
How soon after the surgery did you notice a difference?
Within a few hours after the procedure.
That improvement continued as time went on.
Are you able to read that line?
374258.
Wow, that's impressive.
I am ecstatic. I mean, it's been so incredible. I tell everyone I've been able to share and to say I no longer have the dependency on reading glasses.
That was Dr. Bruce Hensel reporting. Well, tonight, the National Weather Service confirms a tornado ripped through central New York last night. But have you ever wondered how they figure out these storms? Our Alex Rusilla teamed up with the National Weather Service today to figure out how they figure it out. We're going to have more on that story coming up.
Well, certainly a tough weather day yesterday with reports still coming in from the National Weather Service survey teams that have been out and about all day today on what happened, microburst winds versus tornadoes in several different parts of upstate New York. I got put a map together here to show you a little bit, just a quick review of some of the storms that went on by. And let's start with the storm that went on through, starting in central and southern parts of Cayuga County, through Skaneateles, right up through downtown Syracuse. We were into a tornado warning just about this time yesterday. And that storm, that strong rotating storm, went through Syracuse, on up through Vernon, Verona, headed on over Rome, and eventually out to the east and to central and southern parts of Herkimer County. National Weather Service determined that all this extensive large trees down in Syracuse area and power lines down and into Rome, that this was more than likely a microburst, winds of 75 miles an hour. At least that's what they were seeing around the immediate central New York, Syracuse area. Although, of course, as you know, we've shown you some of this. There were some interesting pictures, we'll call it that, interesting pictures of possible tornado around Vernon, Verona. Now that is the cell that went up in this direction, so I'm sure we're going to be learning more as time goes on. We had storms that went along the south shore of Lake Ontario, cutting on through the Tug Hill, and that right there was the Bow Echo, a strong line of very powerful thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms that worked on into central and southern parts of Lewis County. And it looks like the northern edge of this Bo Echo did drop a tornado. That's not confirmed 100% yet, but may have dropped a tornado in Lowville. And then, of course, the deadly one, that Bo Echo that went on through from Tompkins and Cortland County right down here and worked on in through central and southern parts of Madison County. The northern edge of that Bo Echo dropped an EF2 tornado in Smithfield. EF2 tornado, National Weather Service is saying winds of 111 to 135 miles an hour would be the EF2. Right now, still a few showers around here and there, but we're going to calm things down and dry things out over the next 2 to 3 days. I'll be back with lots more. We'll talk about what happens this weekend. When will the heat, humidity, and storms return? All that coming up in a few minutes.
Right now, we continue to look at central New York after the storm.
I've grown up here my whole life, and to come into a driveway where I used to be able to just see the whole screen and to be able to see through it was just devastating.
And Oswego County gem brought to smithereens by the wake of the storms. Tonight, neighbors share their memories of the Minetto Drive-In. And President Obama in Texas for what was initially a fundraising trip, but has become much more as the immigration border crisis continues to grow. How the president is tackling the issue and what some members of Congress have to say about it. Plus,
we're going to unveil a video where you'll have a virtual tour of the amphitheater, and I think people are going to be blown away.
Especially if you live in Solvay or Geddes, reasons you'll want to attend tonight's West Shore revitalization meeting, why adding your voice is so important, and how soon the amphitheater could hold its first concert. But first, we want to get back to our team coverage tonight of the severe storms that swept through our area around this time last night as people in Oswego County start to assess the damage that this storm took on their neighborhoods. The owner of a popular drive-in movie theater says they feel like they've just lost a family member. New at 5:30 tonight, Sarah Beth Ackerman takes us to Minetto to show us what's left and what's next for the drive-in.
The wind did blow. That's the only thing that's showing at the Midway Drive-In. Storms knocked down trees and power lines, leaving the Nagelschmidts with extreme damage.
The wind was like nothing I'd ever seen.
Heidi Nagelschmidt, the owner's daughter, says she couldn't believe how bad the damage actually was until she saw it with her own eyes.
Heartbreaking. I've grown up here my whole life, and to come into a driveway where I used to be able to just see the whole screen and to be able to see through it was just devastating.
Most of the cars that are driving off of Route 48 can't even help but stop to look at all of the damage.
I was passing around here, I look at the building here, and I said, oh my God, this theater has been there for years. What happened?
And just across the street, downed trees closed in on Mike Gavlin's property. But he's just thankful no one was hurt.
The wife was out back picking stuff up, and all of a sudden she started screaming. There's siding and shingles flying everywhere, and the trees started snapping, and it just happened real fast.
As Gavlin looks across the Midway, he can't help but remember all the times he would watch movies with his family. Right now, neighbors are stopping at the Midway to not only see the storm scene, but also to send well wishes to the Nagelschmidts.
The best thing I think that they could do to help is hopefully when we rebuild is just to come back and support us, just like they always have.
An insurance company will be at the grounds tomorrow to see what it can cover. Because it's not the screen that makes the drive-in, it's the people. Reporting in Minetto, I'm Sarah Beth Ackerman.
On our CNY Central Facebook page right now, so many of you are leaving your comments, sharing some of your memories of the drive-in there. Donna Phillips saying, I'm so sorry for your loss. It was disappointing to hear about the damage last night. You've struggled and worked at it to keep this business going. It's a wonderful place for a more rural-like area like ours, and you just don't hear of drive-ins anymore. You can share your memories of the drive-in in Minetto on our CNY Central Facebook page right now. Just into our newsroom tonight, pictures out of the Verona area in Oneida County taken right around this time yesterday. The National Weather Service has received many pictures like this as well, indicating there may have been a tornado. Take a look at the gray mass behind that house. The National Weather Service sent a team out to assess the damage here to find out whether one may have touched down. If it did, this would be the second tornado to strike Verona in less than a month. You may remember it was back on June 17th, a tornado measuring an EF1 on a scale used to measure tornadoes touched down right near where Route 31 meets Route 365 in Verona. The National Weather Service ruled the top winds clocked in at about 100 miles per hour. It knocked down trees and street signs. Damage continued along a 9-mile path into Westmoreland. Right now, we want to show you some of the damage from yesterday's confirmed tornado that tore through Smithfield, claiming 4 lives. 35-year-old Kimberly Hilliard and her 4-month-old daughter, Paris Newman, are among the dead. Hilliard and her boyfriend were building a house on Goff Road in Smithfield. When he didn't hear from her, her boyfriend drove to the property to look for her, and that's when he found Kimberly and the baby in the midst of the destruction. 2 others, Kimberly's aunt, 70-year-old Virginia Warner, and a 53-year-old man, Arnie Allen, also died in the tornado. Right now, you're looking live on Goff Road, where you can see the American Red Cross is on the scene along with emergency responders. Investigators were first called out here around 7:15 last night on a report of a building collapse. But when they got there, they found the destruction was much worse than they could have ever imagined. The tornado destroyed 4 homes, left 3 others heavily damaged, and flattened a barn. The National Weather Service says winds swirled at speeds well over 100 miles per hour there last night, measuring at least an EF2 on the scale used to measure tornadoes, if not stronger. We're going to bring in our chief meteorologist, Wayne Mahar, for some perspective on the historic storm in about 15 minutes in our talk tonight. And just to give you a sense of where this is located, Smithfield is about 35 miles to the east of Syracuse, not too far from Cazenovia. Right now on our website, you can read about the extensive damage and look at pictures submitted by our viewers. We'll have another live report from Smithfield coming up at the top of the hour. Happening right now in other news tonight, your first chance to hear about the plans to revitalize the western shore of Onondaga Lake and the village of Solvay. Preliminary plans for the project that would bring an amphitheater near the fairgrounds are being unveiled right now at Solvay High School. The meeting, in fact, is just getting started. When we caught up with County Executive Joni Mahoney yesterday, she was talking about how she thinks people will be very surprised at how far the vision has come since the announcement in January.
We're going to unveil a video where you'll have a virtual tour of the amphitheater, and I think people are going to be blown away. State legislature has approved our design build, and we're still pushing for a concert before 2015 ends.
County leaders also want to hear your ideas about how to open up this area, especially if you live in Geddes or Solvay. Right now, there are 2 concepts regarding the future of Bridge Street. One option would widen the street on one side to be sort of a promenade with no shoulder on the other. Another option calls for something more narrow on both sides to allow for bicycles and walking traffic. State and county leaders plan to invest $100 million in the project. President Obama is in Texas tonight, the epicenter of the immigration crisis. He wants emergency spending to deal with the issue, but he's under attack by Republicans, accused of encouraging the illegal surge and for not planning a border visit while he's in Texas. Steve Handelsman reports.
On his way to Texas and the border crisis in Colorado, President Obama spoke just 17 seconds on immigration, blaming Congress for not passing reforms.
These guys still can't get their act together.
Mr. Obama relaxed last night and has no plans today to visit the border, the scene of the immigration surge. Bad plan, said a Texas Democrat.
When you're so close and you can't even take Air Force One to go down to the border.
Laredo, Texas is swamped by Central American kids and moms. What to do has the nation divided. League City, Texas voted not to house detainees.
What do we want?
Justice! Some there protested that. In Central America, racked by crime and poverty, the Obama Secretary of Homeland Security warned the kids who come to the U.S. cannot stay.
They must be returned home.
In fact, many are staying for months, some freed into U.S. communities. Back in Washington, Republicans charge that's sending the wrong message.
They're getting an impression in their countries that once they get here, they can stay.
President Obama wants $1.8 billion to better house the new immigrants, just $1.6 billion to try to keep them out. Focus more on that, said Republican leaders.
If we don't secure the border, nothing's going to change.
No let-up in the human surge or the political impasse. I'm Steve Handelsman, NBC News, Capitol Hill.
Just in tonight, we've learned President Obama is expected to address the border crisis tonight. He's scheduled to speak around 6:45 in Texas. Coming up, our talk tonight, we continue to look at what the storms and the tornadoes left behind.
We don't get tornadoes in New York, right? Anyone will tell you that. Well, we do now.
The governor says extreme weather is becoming the new normal here in New York. On one side of the street, houses destroyed. On the other side, buildings lay untouched. Chief Meteorologist Wayne Mahar breaks down the timeline and has a look at the science of the storm in about 12 minutes. But first tonight, more cases of rabies in central New York. Tonight, we're inviting a representative from the Onondaga County Health Department to talk about how you can protect your pets and your children. Welcome back to the talk tonight. More cases of rabies popping up around central New York tonight. We have had a number of cases in Onondaga County, but also in Oneida County, where 2 people were bitten over the 4th of July weekend by a rabid barn cat in Marcy that was reportedly acting aggressive. They're now being treated for rabies. And here in Onondaga County, a skunk has just tested positive for rabies. It was found on Lords Hill Road near Route 20 in the town of Onondaga. No one was hurt. Now, this is the 7th case of rabies so far this year, and that's just in Onondaga County. Tonight, we're joined by Lisa Letney of the Onondaga County Health Department. Great to see you. This is a big topic right now here in central New York. We've had so many cases, 7 so far in Onondaga County. Is that unusual?
Well, at this point, we've had quite a few right in a row, so it seems like a lot. But we generally get about 8 to 12 each year, so it's a little early in the season to be sure how this is going to go.
What kinds of animals are we seeing rabies popping up in?
We see rabies in bats, fox, skunk, raccoons, and occasionally cats.
So these are animals that people might find in their backyard.
Certainly.
Certainly maybe if they're in a wooded area or maybe even a rural area. Are you all getting phone calls from people with reports of sightings?
Well, we certainly are getting more phone calls from people just concerned about wildlife in general. But as long as the animal is just passing through your yard, etc., or maybe even an animal might be dying, there really is no concern unless you have some encounter with the animal.
Do we know much about how the animals contract the rabies to begin with?
Well, basically, they get the rabies from each other. They pass it from one animal to the next. So that's basically how that's done.
How dangerous is it for humans?
It's very dangerous. So if you actually get rabies and you actually get the symptoms of rabies, it's almost 100% fatal.
Wow, so it has to be treated immediately then?
It does. It does. Generally, we have 10 days, so we like to have them start the shot within the 10-day period.
So Nedrow is one of the locations that we featured on the news here recently. There was a pregnant woman who was attacked by a rabid animal there. And also, we had a chance to speak with a young boy there who had a close encounter with a rabid animal. Here's what he had to say.
When we went into the woods, we saw something like 5 to 10 feet away from us, and it kept on walking closer and closer, and then it started to walk faster. And it was red with pointy ears, so we went into their fence and stayed in there for like a couple minutes, and then me and my brother ran back to our house.
How was it acting?
It sounded like it was making a growling noise at us.
Yeah.
And we could see its teeth.
So it was snarling and
Yeah.
looking at you?
Yeah.
So growling, snarling, are these some of the red flag signs to watch out for?
Well, if an animal is acting aggressive or unusual, certainly that can indicate rabies. Animals generally do not attack people or items in your property, so if they're doing that, that may be one sign. Other animals may be lethargic or seem paralyzed, so there's no one set of symptoms for an animal that's rabid.
And we often hear about sort of the foaming of the mouth. Is that one of those red flag signs?
It could be, but people generally don't see that very much, to tell you the truth.
So if you are attacked by one of these animals, you know, let's say maybe you're out at a park or taking a walk in the woods, taking a hike with your family, what do you do in that situation?
Well, in that situation, you want to make sure that you get to a physician right away to have that wound looked at and cleaned, and then they will contact our communicable disease division to decide if you'll need the rabies shots or not.
Anything you can do to keep the animals away from you and your family?
Yes, generally you don't want to feed wild animals. You don't want to feed feral cats because that attracts them to your yard. You want to make sure that you have your animals under control, so if you have a dog or a cat, that they stay in your yard, etc.
Okay, Lisa, thank you so much for your time tonight from the Onondaga County Health Department. Our conversation continues here in just a moment tonight.
Wind picked up, and the next thing I know, things are blowing all over the place. We looked across the road here and there, and everything's gone. You know, I mean, we lost 4 people here.
A Madison County community still reeling tonight and cleaning up, mourning the loss of 4 people after a tornado tore through yesterday. We'll show you what's left behind after the storm. The talk tonight, it seems to be what everybody's talking about today, from Madison County to Oneida County, Onondaga County, and all over our viewing area. We are seeing the damage left behind by severe storms that ripped through. You're looking at video right now from Smithfield, one of the areas hit especially hard. This is where 4 people lost their lives in the storm. The National Weather Service confirming to us today an EF2 tornado touched down in that area, literally leaving this community in pieces, or at least parts of it. Chief Meteorologist Wayne Mahar is here now to sort of provide some perspective for us about what happened in this area. EF2, where does that fall in terms of the categories? How strong is that?
111 to 135 mile-an-hour winds is the EF2. So, I mean, that's for around here, that's a good-sized tornado.
Unusual for upstate New York?
Well, you know, we'll say, yeah, it is unusual. Not that we haven't had EF2s, and even, you know, back a number of years ago, I think 1983 in upstate, we had an EF3, a little bit stronger. Okay, so it is unusual because we don't get that many. We'll get EF0s, and then Verona back 3 weeks ago. That did a little bit of sign damage and a little bit of a property damage out there. I believe that was an EF1, winds closer to 100 miles an hour. So, you know, EF2, that's a good sized storm. And obviously, you know, just horrible tragedy there in Smithfield, to go along with the other storms that we had around here that did property damage. You know, fortunately, I think everybody else was safe in those other storms that we had.
Governor Cuomo was in town today in the Smithfield area touring some of the damage. He said, you know, this is sort of the new normal for us. Take a listen to what he had to say.
The property damage that we've seen in Madison County is explosive in its effect. It looks like literally a bomb went off in a house, and you just see devastation everywhere. Again, it's what tornadoes do, but we've seen those pictures on TV. You don't normally see them in the state of New York.
And what is remarkable, Wayne, is, you know, if you go to Smithfield, for example, and we talked to some neighbors there today, on one side of the street, homes are still intact and virtually were untouched. And on the other side, we see literally it's left in pieces.
Yeah, and that can happen, you know, with tornadoes. Well, there's some pictures right there. That can happen with tornadoes, that can happen with straight line winds, microbursts, derechos. Go back to the Labor Day storm that went through the fairgrounds and then just cut a swath into parts of downtown Syracuse, eastward into Fayetteville, and other areas really hardly saw anything. Yeah. Okay, when you get these type of storms, these severe summer type of thunderstorms, they're usually in a in a funneled sort of path, you know, varying widths and varying lengths, but you know, and outside of that area, probably not too much.
But Deerfield, also an area where a tornado may have come through, and Loudville as well?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. And matter of fact, I have a map, and then we got to get into the weather now, but the Deerfield possible tornado may or may not have been associated with a storm that actually came up from Skaneateles to Syracuse to Verona to Rome and up into that area, because Deerfield is near where the end of that path is. So it may or may not have been a separate storm. It may have been attached to the one that came up through Syracuse.
Important to heed the warnings. That's why we were on the air for 2 hours straight last night, keeping people informed about what was going on. Wayne, thanks. We're going to get to the forecast for you in just a moment. Thank you for joining us for the talk tonight. You can upload any photos you have of the destruction in your neighborhood on our CNY Central Facebook page tonight. Let's go back to Wayne now and check on the forecast right now. And Wayne, we've been talking about some severe thunderstorm warnings for some of our outlying counties here tonight too.
And there have been, you know, that's what we needed. You know, the last thing we need to talk about more severe thunderstorms, but we did have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, Chenango County, Otsego County. It looks like that activity right now is pushing off further east of Otsego County right now. Still this area, Catskills, Lower Hudson Valley, into a severe thunderstorm watch. This is where the severe weather is right now, all the way up into Albany and heading away. As far as we're concerned, in the immediate Syracuse, central New York area, we had a couple of showers around scattered here and there, but for the most part, the heavy duty activity that we were dealing with 24 hours ago, that has gone by the wayside for at least the next few days. We're going to take the next 2 to 3 days to get a little bit of a breather. clean up and try to put put everything back into the atmosphere, into a more quiet type of atmosphere, at least on into Saturday or Saturday night. So what do we expect? A drier, less humid weather for the next 2 to 3 days. That should get us on into a good chunk of Saturday. More heat and humidity and probably more storms arriving here again by the time we get to Sunday and Monday. And then a little longer range weather pattern. I'm seeing what appears to be maybe a bit of more of an overall weather pattern change. Maybe a cooler weather pattern setting up here for the middle and the end of next week. So hour by hour as far as tonight is concerned, scattered lingering showers, maybe a thunderstorm well south and east of here ending. Skies will eventually turn partly cloudy, and it will turn less muggy during the overnight. Low temperature later on tonight at about 55 degrees. And as far as what happens after that, well, on that 7-day weather outlook, we do have a somewhat quieter weather ahead. 7-day weather outlook for tomorrow, we'll call it partly sunny, just the possibility of an isolated afternoon shower popping up at a high temperature of 76. Partly to mostly sunny on Friday, 81. Partly sunny on Saturday. Slight chance of a late day thunderstorm, 85. And then Sunday, Monday, we increase the risk for scattered showers and storms. More heat, more humidity, 85 degrees on Sunday, 84 degrees on Monday. That's my latest forecast.
Thank you, Wayne. We pick up our team coverage of the storms at the top of the hour tonight. 4 people dead after a tornado tore through the town of Smithfield in Madison County, including a mother and her 4-month-old baby. We will show you the trail of damage. And so just how does the National Weather Service arrive at determine how strong the storm was? Tonight, a look at the science of assessing the damage.